Hey everyone. Hey Belle. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm so excited you're here with us. I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce you to our audience. So, Belle, I found you on Kickstarter maybe a little more than a week ago, and I was randomly browsing decks for inspiration. I do that from time to time, and then all of a sudden your beautiful card deck just jumped out at me, and I just loved the magical vibe, and it's totally my kind of deck. And I immediately knew I wanted to back your project and also, that I really wanted this project to come to life, and I just wanted to do whatever I could to help support your launch and just sharing the deck with more people. So I'm really excited that you agreed to join us here today. And yeah, so just a few things that I know about you. I know you're an Akashic Records reader, and you're also a really talented artist. You just work so beautifully with watercolor, and I feel really inspired by your process. And so right now you're launching your first card deck while you're already working on a new one too. But the one that you're currently launching is the Witch Cat Oracle, and we're probably going to see some of your cards and what you already have. I know you have a physical sample there. And yeah, I'm just really glad that we get to connect today and ask you some questions about your process and your journey with your deck and your work in general as well. All the magic that you're doing in this world. So
Yeah,
thank
thank you
you
so
for
much. Yeah, for having me, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you a little more about your background, like how you got started on your journey, also with the Akashic Records. I'd be really curious to hear more about that and how that translated into the idea for the card deck. And I know you're bringing both together in your deck, so I'd be really curious to hear more about that as well. What inspired that specific combination?
Yeah, of course. So I think I started like on my spiritual journey or on this path when I went to an ashram for 4 weeks. And I went there initially because I wanted to become physically stronger because my sister went to an ashram to did a yoga teacher course, and she came back and she was so strong and flexible, and I thought I want this for myself too. So I signed up for a course here in Germany. I went there for 4 weeks, but I didn't really know what was waiting for me because I was very naive and I thought yoga meant doing physical exercise. And so this wasn't like all there is to yoga. So we meditated a lot in the ashram. We did all sorts of cleansing rituals. We learned so much about the spirit realm. And it was, yeah, such a deep experience. And it laid, I would say, the groundwork or the base of my spiritual routine afterwards. So I kept to my meditation practice. And it was, I would like, if I remember correctly, the time of the pandemic. So I had a lot of time on my hand and I listened to a lot of spiritual content on YouTube or other platforms. And this was also the time when I really got into reading tarot cards or oracle cards. And I learned or heard about the Akashic records. And hearing about the records for the first time kind of blew my mind. I couldn't imagine this was possible. And if you don't know what the Akashic records are, it is a big energy field that is connected with everything. And I like to explain it like it is sort of the internet, but in form of spirituality. So you can access the records and you can ask any question and you will receive answers. And I learned how to access the Akashic records. And like spirituality, it just drew me in, and I wanted to learn more and more and more. And so I did. I practiced every day for mm since I learned it. So I learned it in 2021. Now I don't do it every day because I have booked readings and I don't I don't give myself the space to read for myself every day. I don't feel like I need it right now because I have to practice. I have this already behind me. So, but back then I practiced a lot. And when you like ask questions in the records on a daily basis, you sort of, after a couple of weeks and months, it feels like you've asked whatever there is to ask. So I got the deck of my teacher who taught me how to read in the Akashic records. And this deck is amazing because it has questions, high vibrational questions already for each of the cards. So you have a theme, a spiritual theme with the card, and also you have around 5 questions for each of the themes or the spiritual themes. So I didn't have to use too much brain space every day to come up with questions in my routine. And this was very easy and accessible. But after a year, it felt like I could rehearse the whole guidebook. I could like tell you every question and whatever there was to know about this deck, and I wanted some fresh air in my routine. So I went online and I looked for a deck that could give me something similar. But I didn't really find one. So I looked for another deck that could accompany me in my daily practice from there on. And I stumbled upon the decks by Phil and Jackie Lovesay. And I'm not sure if you heard of those decks, but receiving the first copy was life-changing, if I can say so, because it was really heart-opening in the way this was because the artwork itself was so magical and whimsical and also weird, but in the best way possible, that I thought I could do this too because this was really a deck with so much soul and heart from those two people in it. So, for example, there's one card with the main character of the deck sitting on the toilet reading the newspaper, and the card was titled Sanctuary. And this is just my kind of, I don't know, I enjoy this so much. And I thought I could do this for someone else. I could bring something into the world, and someone else is like really excited about this. And so I thought if there is not the perfect deck for me on the market, I can create it myself and I can include the questions. I can make the artwork in a way that is really inspiring for me, and I can include characters. So I have like friends along my side while I do my spiritual practice, and I could include all of what makes me so happy in this deck, and hopefully other people will like enjoy it too.
I love that. And I think this is really relatable. I think for a lot of us deck creators, I think Heath, you'll be able to relate to this too. But for me, for sure, like even the first deck that I made for myself initially more than 10 years ago, I think it's almost 15 years now. It started like that. I created something for myself and then I knew it was meant to be shared with other people. But I think that's so beautiful when we can bring something really personal into our creations. That's really what resonates with the people around us too, and it really brings in the people who are ready to work with the medicine. And yeah, I love that.
It
Yeah, and
feels that I was just gonna pop. It feels that almost for me, like when certain ideas come through, and I think this is probably true for everyone if you're really listening to yourself, they won't go away. Like like they won't go away. And then you know, like, oh, this one, like, of course, there's infinite ideas that can come in and kind of bounce off you, but the ones that are really going to be compatible, like, they just don't go away. And so
they stick to
using
you,
that
yeah.
curiosity, yeah, yeah, the curiosity of following that, even if, some of them may not always come into the physical world, but you can still follow it a little bit and just get that spark started and see what happens. Cause it's like, it's crazy how much it can drastically change the course of your life just by being a little bit curious with those.
Yeah.
Belle, I would love to hear a little bit more about your background as an artist as well. I saw some of your YouTube videos, where you're sharing your process of designing new cards, and I can see that you're really gifted and really talented. So, have you been on this journey for a long time as well, creating art, and like how did that start for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been painting and drawing all my life. Like this is I guess this is the great love of my life, maybe painting and drawing. And this is something that has been with me since I can remember. And I would have loved to, like, I wanted to go to art school, but this wasn't really something my parents thought would be good for me when I'm grown up and I need a job. So I didn't really do or go down this path. But in my free time, I always painted and drew and made art and looked at the art of other people. So it's just something that is so joyful for me, and I find so much comfort within it. And I think it is, it is, yeah, I've grown into it. So I've learned what I can do right now just by practicing so much. And yeah, so this is what I do when I have time on my hand. I just paint.
Yeah, and very beautifully. And I think that's a good reminder too. I think a lot of people, like initially, maybe if they haven't created art before, they think, "Oh, I'm not an artist and I can't do this." But I feel like it's so true. Like some of us might be more gifted than others in a way, like it might come more naturally, but there's so much that we can learn through practice too.
If
So
there's like interest there, it feels like you can do almost anything. So it's more the spark that drives you there, and then you want to do more and more, and naturally you become better in it, of course.
yeah,
I linked Belle's Kickstarter campaign if you want to see some of her art because it is phenomenal. In the chat, if you just click the chat button, you can click the link and go look at it. For this specific deck, at least.
I will link it below our YouTube video as well for later on. But yes, please go check it out. And yeah, so now I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey with your card deck. I mean, you already shared a little bit about what inspired you to create it, but like, what has this journey been like for you? How long have you been working on this deck? And also, are there any stories you'd like to share about how you've created it and maybe some challenges that you faced along the way as well and lessons learned? And yeah,
Of
from
course.
getting
So
started all the way to launching it now on Kickstarter.
yeah, so there's a really long story to it, but maybe I'll stick to the shorter one. Started, and I looked it up today. I started in June 2023 with the first illustrations, and I wanted to create an oracle or tarot long before this. And it came to me as a message from the spirit realm, just always knocking at the back of my head. Um, a voice telling me you need to create an oracle. But all those years ago, I didn't even know about oracle cards. I only knew tarot, so I thought I have to create a tarot deck. But later on, I realized it had to be an oracle. And so I'm sure anybody who started such a project, um, in the beginning, when you're new to this, there's so many things to consider. And I found myself just wondering where to start. So I started with the part that felt most comfortable, which is the illustrations and the part where I just do my paintings. And very naturally, because I was doing these illustrations, I had to think about what to include. So characters were forming and the world was going to was building itself almost in my head. The more I connected or engaged myself with this project, the more it just came to me. And so I usually get inspired and am very comforted by the things surrounding me already. So in doing the illustrations, I knew the characters, then I knew the world, then I knew, well, I can connect this theme to this illustration, and it all kind of fell into place very naturally and organically. So, what I did was just focus in my energy and my time and energy into one of the parts. And whenever this was done, I could go on to the next part. And so in creating the deck, I didn't even think about Kickstarter or the ways I wanted to bring it into the world. So I just gave myself permission to create the deck. And afterwards, so all the logistics and which printer am I going to use and mm, which technical software am I going to use, this all came later. So I think, yeah, so the first challenge maybe was just starting somewhere. And in starting, I got into a flow in a state where I just very naturally found the next step to take. And mm, maybe another challenge, which I would also advise anyone who's listening, who's starting, is spreading the word into the world. And this is something that is still a challenge. However, I'm trying my best to show myself and connect myself. And that's also what I'm doing now. I'm so, so happy and grateful for being with you guys today. Um, so one thing I would do differently the next time around, I would start much earlier just sharing what I'm doing. And there will come so much good of it. Like as soon as I stepped out my shell and showed myself, I received so much positive feedback from people I never even imagined they would even care. So from colleagues or from family members, and it's so beautiful and so much fun. And so yes, this I guess was and is as like a challenge still. And mm, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're talking about. And I think this is something that I see with a lot of creators, including myself as well, like finding that sweet spot between having that sacred space to create and, where we can really be in our own energy and just let the images and the energy and the messages come through, and then also stepping out into the world and sharing. But it's definitely something that I recommend. I keep talking about this. Start sharing early. Like, don't
Yeah.
be shy, because
No.
especially if you're doing a Kickstarter, especially because you want to have ideally you want to have an audience built already so that you can start, you have enough people to share it with on day one, and then yeah, you just move faster. Um, but yeah, I think there's also definitely space for being in our little hermit cave initially, to really allow for the birthing process to unfold naturally, and be in that sacred space. But yeah, I love it that you shared that, because I feel like that's one that comes up for so many people, and it's
Yeah.
a struggle for a lot of people, and especially
Yeah.
if you're just getting started. But I'm
Yeah.
really, I love what you're sharing, and I saw what you're doing on your YouTube channel, and I feel so inspired by your videos and how you're sharing your process and about your work. And um, so one thing I was curious about, the title of your deck is the Witch Cat Oracle, and I see that you have a cat behind you there. So I would imagine that your
Yeah,
cat's
she's
probably
not here.
inspired.
She's the main character.
Yeah. So are
Yeah.
there two cats in the deck?
Yeah, she's got a sister, but she unfortunately is no longer with us. Yeah.
Oh.
So she lives in the deck. Hmm.
Aw, oh, that's such a beautiful way to honor your pets. We actually have
Yeah.
a couple members in our community as well who are creating decks who have lost pets and who are creating decks inspired by their
Yeah.
pets who passed away. So I love that you're doing that as well. It's such a beautiful way to honor the beings we love beyond time and space.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah, and so what's the connection for you between the cats and the witch? Like, how did
Mhm.
that come about?
Yeah, I think this came to me and I didn't really think about it because in preparation for today, I thought about this question and I didn't really know how this kind of worked. But I remember that I always drew comics from my life. So since I was a kid, I liked to draw just was the things that surrounded me. And when I thought about creating this oracle, I knew I wanted stories to be included in the deck because I saw this with the decks from Phil and Jackie, and I really fell in love with this idea. And so all I can remember is thinking who are going to be the main characters. Yeah, Frida and Lottie, of course, they are going to be the main characters just because they give me so much comfort and they are friends and family members of mine already. So it felt kind of very natural. This is all I can remember. And the witch cat, I think I've always loved witchy stories, and it doesn't really matter if the witch is an animal, a creature, a human being. So I just loved the aspect of the witch. And so I thought about what the story could be. And I fell in love with the idea that the two cats, the main characters, were just very ordinary cats. And then one day they stumbled into this magical world. And from that day on, they knew they wanted to become witches. And so they wanted to become famous witches, even. But yeah, so I love the story aspect of it. And stories again, when I practice daily, when I have a daily routine, I want an oracle deck that brings me comfort. And stories are something very comforting to me. So, yeah, this, I guess, was the way the witch cats were born.
I love that. And yeah, I feel like stories are so healing too, because we can bring so much magic and then they really speak to the inner child. And yeah,
Yeah, and we know we're not alone in something, so there's so much to stories.
yeah. So before we continue, I just wanted to let everyone know if you have any questions for Belle, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll have some time soon to start answering some questions. And I feel like I would love to see some cards from your deck. Do you have it there with you?
Yeah, I have it here with me. So I have the second sample, which I love so much more in comparison to the first one. I can just show it very quickly because I've done some major changes. So I'm really happy with this already.
Yeah,
And
that's always fascinating to see the process of creating it because it can be, yeah, like a lot of iterations of different steps. So it's very inspiring.
true. So they are not in order. So I just get those up for up front. This is, for example, when the two cat sisters are on a journey. And
It's so whimsical as is your subtitle, but I feel the whimsicalness in the deck for sure.
in the artwork, yeah.
That's
So
what
this is,
drew me to this deck.
I really love this card. It is like the story behind it is that Lottie is while she is practicing her higher senses, she starts to hear the trees whispering things to her. And one tree is like moving and it's whispering to her, be aware of the squirrels because they're up to no good. And they're like, no, we're doing nothing. And she's like, what's happening with the squirrels? So I really love this one. And there is like a game the two cats love to play, which is like Dungeons and Dragons, but with real magic. So it's something they love to do, which gives them comfort. And here are the witches familiars, the two creatures. And here we have emotions. So this is when the two cats, they leave their mentor's home to move into their own place, which is like a bit emotional for Lottie.
Aw, these are so cute. And you have a guidebook with it as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, with the questions, which were so important to me. Yeah.
I see we already have a few questions in the chat, so maybe we'll just start answering some of these questions and maybe we can come back to your cards a little bit closer to the end. I would love to maybe, get a card pull from your deck and maybe
Yeah, sure.
hear a little bit from the guidebook as well.
Of course.
But let's just start with the first question. So Queen Holly Fair asks, what size did you do your original artwork in? Did you start with a bigger canvas?
You know what? I'm really prepared and I anticipated this question. So I can tell you, I usually do it this size and it's half of A4 if that's the same in every country. So I usually do it in this size, but also some of them I just love to do a bit bigger, but they're never bigger than this.
No, thank you. And I'll just add to this, if this is something that somebody's, needs to know for their project. So ideally, you just want it to be at least the size of the printed card, ideally a little bit bigger than that too. And also the dimensions, like, or the proportions should be about the same. Like it can cut off a little bit at the edges, but yeah, just never make it smaller than the printed cards are going to be. They'll be good. Um, Heath asks, I'm curious, what is your first memory of channeling or creating art? Is there a specific moment where you fell in love with it?
I would say, and this is a great question, I would say even when I was a child, I would draw and paint very intuitively, letting a lot of higher like higher spiritual stuff coming through and then flow through me. But I never experienced it quite as intense as when I was meditating a lot. There is one painting that is now a really big oil painting in the other room that came from a session in meditation. And I first drew it in watercolor and I loved it so much. And then I drew it in oil. And this whole painting took me a year. And every time I painted, it is almost like I can remember as if I was in trance. And I cannot tell you, it was really interesting how I didn't paint this painting. This kind of really came through me onto the wooden board, and it is really big. And it changed the way I changed throughout this whole year. So this was really an experience where I felt I am the channel for something coming through, and I'm not the one who's actively creating what I'm just creating.
I can relate to this feeling very well. Even with creating decks, I feel it's, especially my last one, felt a lot like that. Like I had the
Mhm.
inspiration for a long time. I knew I was gonna create a deck and I knew like I'd already done a few before, but uh, the whole time when I was, channeling through the messages and the visuals for the art, like I collaborated with an illustrator who helped me with the artwork, but just the concepts for the art. Like I just felt like there was something moving through me, and
Mhm.
that's why I knew that I was going to be supported and bringing it to
Mhm.
life, and it just really wanted to be out there. And yeah, so
Yeah.
it feels like you're describing something similar.
Yeah,
And
it also feels like the place where it's coming from is different. So I can always tell when I'm painting from here or when it just flows through me. I think you can feel it. So this is
absolutely.
amazing, and it's so much fun when you're in the state of just receiving and giving into the world again.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that many times. I think as soon as we start questioning or we start trying to control it with the mind,
Yeah,
whether we're painting or writing or whatever, then we start blocking the flow. And
yeah,
when we're able to just let it flow, then it just moves so easily. And like we create
yeah.
things that we couldn't even have imagined.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be beautiful or pretty. I always find when I'm thinking too hard, then it's not flow.
And
Yeah, it's
just
like the
look,
difference between inspired action and forced action. It's
Yeah.
like anything coming from an inspiration spark feels really good coming through. And yeah, if you're trying too hard, maybe that's not going to turn out in some magical way. Sometimes maybe it does, but
Yeah.
just seeing a comment from Rachel here. She says, I feel like these can have so many meanings because there's so much detail. It's beautiful. So that's a comment on your art. And then I have a question here from Laura. Do you have the deck of your mentor that inspired you that you could show for a
Yeah,
comparison? Do you have it there with you?
of course. So I have all of it. Like my table
Oh,
is
very
full of
cool.
stuff. So whatever comes, I am prepared. This is the deck. And so I also love the artwork of this deck, but it didn't really like it didn't really it's not what I need like on a daily basis when I want to connect with a deck. I love it still, but I want characters that come and come time and time again. So this is beautiful too. And it has a really good guidebook. I love this deck. So it feels like a part of myself because if you work with a deck for a year every day, it becomes very intimate. It becomes really, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I've had a few decks like that, especially when I first got started too. It was a long time ago, but just have some decks that have been with me for a very long time. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that with us. And here's another question from Heath. How do these cards in this deck specifically help open up a connection with the Akashic records? Like, if I have the deck in my hands and I draw a card, is there a certain way to open up the questions for the Akashic records? It's a great
Lovely
question.
question. So it isn't in the deck itself. What I'm doing with the deck is I access my records or from anyone the records, and then I have questions I can ask in the Akashic records. But there's like different ways you can connect to the Akashic records, and it's if you're practicing some form of spirituality, I would say it might happen really fast and you'll have a good connection just by trying. And the deck, the connection to the Akashic records is that when I practice every day, I do not want to use brain space in order to come up with questions every day. Also, the way you ask a question in the Akashic Records makes a difference. So I just wanted the questions for this spiritual theme I have to be there for me, to just, I can take them, I can ask them and receive my answers. But it would have been an amazing idea to include, for example, a prayer to access the records. But the questions, if you are able or if you've learned to access the records or not, you can use them for journaling or just to reflect on your own what's coming up. So with every theme, you'll have questions supporting this theme. So if you ask them in the Akashic Records or not, I'm sure they will help you get to the bottom of things of whatever it is you're wanting to find out with your question.
Yeah, it's such a great reminder too that we have so many ways of accessing the answers that are already inside of us. And this reminds me of like a long time ago when I was in my teenage years, maybe 16 or so. I had a lot of questions about life and, the meaning of life and a lot of the struggles that I was going through. And then I started journaling a lot. And I noticed that when I started asking questions, the answers just started coming to me. And I felt like it was something, yeah, I guess now I would say it's my higher self kind of started coming in and I started receiving answers that way. And so I guess on one level, maybe it was more like exploring the depths of my soul and maybe my subconscious as well. But I feel like that was maybe a way I started tapping into the records back then as well, like my soul
Sure.
memories. And yeah, but I think both can be really healing, like sometimes journaling more about maybe our emotional world and expressing what we're feeling. And then also just, I mean, we all have access to the wisdom of our soul. Um, but yeah, I think it's really beautiful to have that container as well where we can like really tap into something maybe in a very specific way, like through Akashic Records work. I've never had any formal training in it. For me, it just kind of came naturally through my spiritual awakening, like about 15 years ago. Um,
I'm sure we're connected all the time. And if we're like starting to just, sometimes it happens to me when I walk in the woods and I'm like just contemplating. I know that I'm connected because I know the feeling. And I guess many people are connected very often, but they might not know the difference. But I can feel it. So it's more often than probably one thinks. So we're, yeah, connected. And as you said, like when we start to journal or just begin to reflect on things, usually our like channel gets open and so we're connected. Hmm.
so we have time for more questions if anybody wants to drop more questions in the chat. But until then, maybe we can do some card pulls from the deck if you're open to that.
Yeah.
Maybe, would you want to pull a card for all of us from your deck?
Yeah, I
And
would
then
love
maybe
to.
read a little bit from the guidebook as well. I'd be really
Of
curious about that.
course. Yes, I would love that. So the first card coming up is self-love. And the character is Hope, who's a tree sapling I met in the Black Forest with my uncle when I was there for 2 weeks. And he was sitting on the dining table every day and he started to communicate with me. And so he became a character in the deck as well. And it is card 44. Okay, almost the last card.
44 always means angels to me.
Yay. We have also for every card key messages. So if you just want very quick guidance, the key messages for this one is be gentle, cherish yourself, dance with life. And then the first part of the guidebook is always the spiritual theme for the card. So self-love comes in many different forms. And it's safe to say that it's not always bubble baths and chocolate, though these are lovely too. Sometimes it's quiet courage, saying no when your body asks for rest, honoring your pace in a world that rushes, choosing softness over judgment, forgiveness over hatred. Pain is a part of the human experience. And when we hurt deeply, unexpectedly, the heart often closes, even without us realizing. We tighten around the ache, we shrink to feel safer, and slowly we forget what it was like to breathe with our whole chest. But healing begins when we look gently inward, when we name the wound and allow it to heal. Self-love is choosing yourself again and again, even when it's hard, sometimes even when the world asks of you to dim your light. You are worthy, you are needed, you are enough the way you are. Wrap yourself in kindness, speak to yourself like you would to the one you love most, And when in doubt, return to the rhythm of your breath and whisper, I'm always here for you. So, Akashic Records questions for this one would be, what parts of me are still waiting to be embraced with love and compassion? In what ways have I been withholding love from myself? What limiting beliefs are keeping me from fully cherishing who I am? How can I deepen my connection to self-love in this chapter of my life? What would it look and feel like to truly honor myself every day? How can I offer myself grace for the moments I didn't show up in love for myself? And also there's the story part, which shall I read it to you
Yes.
also? Okay.
Yes, I want to hear it.
I don't think Hope even knows how to close his heart, truly. He just lives wide open, soft-shelled, and full of wonder, as if that's the most natural thing in the world. And maybe it is. There's something about the way he looks at life, like everything is a gift, even the shadows. He doesn't praise for pain. He doesn't flinch from love. He moves through the world with this deep, quiet breathing that speaks from an understanding that goes beyond thinking. It's not that nothing ever hurts him, I suppose. I think he just trusts that nothing can ever take away who he truly is, and that trust, it's radiant. The way his eyes light up at a dandelion puff, the way he gasps in awe every time the wind rustles the trees, even though it's done so 1,000 times before. The way he loves with the full weight of his being over and over again without hesitation, like a river that never ceases to exist. When I'm with Hope, I remember who I was before the world told me to be careful, before I learned to guard my joy, before I believed that love could also mean getting hurt eventually. He teaches me just by being that maybe the greatest act of self-love is choosing not to armor up, to be soft and strong, tender and powerful, to trust that I am safe because I have my back no matter what. And when I forget, he reminds me with a giggle, a gasp, a gaze full of wonder, with the open-hearted magic of someone who knows this world is beautiful and so are we.
So beautiful. The stories are so magical. I'm so glad you included those in the deck, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing quite a few comments from our audience too. Like Mike says, "I love the story element." Gloria says, "Beautiful." Yes, love it. Heath says, "Me too." Then Laura, "Stories make us feel alive." And then I see some emojis, hands clapping, and the
Aw.
smiley face with the hearts and everything. But it's, yeah, I feel that like I can feel so much when you're sharing the stories. And even before you started reading it, when you introduced the card to us initially, and you were talking a little bit about the character on the card, it's like it feels so special. Like I feel like you have a gift for seeing life where not everyone is going to see it, or you see
No,
the characters in a, you connect with them in a really special and unique way, and you help to
thank
bring them alive for us as well. I feel
you.
that it's really inspiring, and just yeah, really feeling the healing power of those stories. Like it really, yeah, speaks to me in so many ways. um so one of our guests says the SVM, the story ties everything together for me. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel
Mm.
the same way.
Yeah, and I can just feel, the loving connection that you have with all the beings as well. And I feel like there's so much that can come through that as well. It's not just archetypes coming to life, but they're
Yeah.
really, there's that element of love.
Yeah, that was so important for me. And I first had this with the decks by Phil and Jackie, and I realized I can also bring this to life. And this is something that really, yeah, that's what this deck makes it perfect for me because this brings me so much joy on a daily basis.
Now I can even I feel like I'm even more impatiently waiting for the deck to be finished, and I really want this deck. I need
Is
this.
this your first Kickstarter campaign?
Yes, it is.
How's that been for you? Like the excitement of that? It's pretty special, huh?
It is. I knew, or like I've reached out actually to Jackie from the decks I told you before, and I asked her for advice because she kind of mastered the Kickstarter aspect of the process, and she told me it's best to go onto this platform if you have like a community already. So if you go there with not so many people, you're going to sit on like you're not it is going to be difficult for you. And I can feel this now because yeah, it's my first campaign and I just try to broaden my community and connect with kindred souls. And at one point, I just felt like I want to try it. And if it's not the right time, the timing will come at one point eventually. I'm just going to make this experience and then I learn from it either way, if the deck gets funded or no. And just being here today is proof of that because I have connected with so many amazing souls, and this already is such a gift for me. And all the experience I have with the Kickstarter is amazing. So I guess it is a bit like challenging at the moment to see the percentage going up, or is it not going up? Like what's happening? But I trust that if it's meant to be, it will be. And if the timing isn't right now, then there will be the perfect timing. So the Kickstarter in and of itself, I'm someone who loves to be prepared. So I started really early in just getting ready and making everything the way I want it to be, and included like illustrations the way I wanted it to be. So it was a lot of work, but I kind of enjoyed preparing the page. And now it's just trying to be visible and connect with people and share the word that the deck is here and live on Kickstarter. So it is very exciting.
It's beautiful. You're also, how long was your campaign? Was it a 30 day or
28 days.
28? Yeah. So you're in the middle
Mhm.
where it can sometimes feel extremely slow
Yeah.
because it's like when it first launches, there's a pop, and then at the end you can get a
Yeah.
pop. But what's awesome is that you just went over 50%, and that's going to carry momentum. And in the algorithm, hopefully it'll keep feeding it to more and more people. And I
Oh,
believe it's going to get
hopefully.
funded.
I hope.
We can
Yeah.
collectively, what you're doing right now is definitely the goal. That's why Anna and I built this community, is because I feel like the bigger we can make it, the more we can help each other too.
Yeah.
And so I love your point of view on that though, like just trusting that if it did not get funded, all of the work that you put into it is still very special, and you know that the right timing
Yeah.
will come out, which happens for people all the time too. Like I've seen others launch decks and then relaunch the same deck and then it does really well. And so, but
Yeah.
you're doing really well already. You're over $4,000 and like 4,000 USD, which is awesome, and 61 backers. So I think the momentum's going to keep carrying.
Yeah.
And it looks really, really good, Belle. Like the page
Thank
looks
you.
beautiful. All of your art looks beautiful. So it's
Oh,
definitely not an issue with the product,
thank you so much.
just getting more eyeballs on it for sure.
Yeah.
Just going to read a few comments from our chat. So Laura says, if you feel led to post an update with any messages or image you want to promote your deck, maybe your backers will be able to share that with more friends. Yes, absolutely. Like, try and get, if you're not already doing that, look at maybe how you can get other people to help you share it as well. And I mean, that's what we're doing here today as well.
Yeah.
And anybody who's listening to us right now, of course, we would love for you to share it with your friends if you feel inspired. Um, Gloria says, I love that outlook. The experience and connections are most important. Yeah, I'm totally feeling that, like you're everything you're doing right now is building your foundation for everything that comes next, and you're just growing stronger through it. And Carolyn says, the deck is so brilliant to me, how it connects art, stories, magic, humor, whimsy, and wisdom, and it always knows how to touch my heart. I feel blessed to have had access to it for some time now, and I hope it gets out there to so many more.
True.
Are you
And
sisters?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
and she says,
Amazing.
yeah, spread the word. And SVM says, I am so new to using Kickstarter. I sense that growing my online community is my next step. Yeah, never too early to get started with that. Yeah, so if anybody else has any questions, we may have time for one more. Otherwise, Heath, do you have any other questions?
I was gonna say, I think all of my curiosity is now stemming in, like, I was really obsessed with that part where we were reading the story. So I don't have any direct questions, no, but that was really exciting for me. And so, I'm just eager to see more cars and hear more of those stories.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like you want to pull one more card for us, or do you want to start
Yeah,
wrapping up?
sure. Uh-huh. It's distractions, and there's a lot going on. So I had this card, I think, the day before yesterday, and I know why it came to me because I felt so many creative projects trying to grab my attention. And I felt myself wandering off in different directions. And I thought I could finish my oil painting, I could start a new watercolor artwork. And then I like received this card and I knew that I should honestly give this deck and also myself the space it deserves, and just do like the promotion and get on social media and just spreads the word because of course this is not something that comes natural to me and I would rather just get to my next art project. But I was reminded that no, you shouldn't distract yourself right now. Just give yourself this, like you've worked so hard on this one. So show it to the world and don't distract yourself with so many new projects. And yeah, this is just a very fresh memory that comes up when I just received this card.
So perfect. And I think, again, something that a lot of us creatives can relate to. I know this was a big struggle for me for a very long time, and I think I've managed to like catch myself a little bit better now when I get too distracted. But I think it's so easy, like for those of us who love creating, like we create something and then immediately want to go start and create the
Yeah.
next thing. But if we want to, get our work out in the into the world, like the promotional phase is so important, and it can feel like a stretch outside of our comfort zone, and that's why we might want to want to retreat to the sacred space of
Definitely.
creating, and
Yeah.
because we love it too. But yeah, just having that balance and that awareness too, I think is really important. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I
Yeah,
think
sure.
it's a really great place to start wrapping up our call. So before we end the call, is there anything else you want to share with us? Maybe ways we can get in touch with you. We'll definitely share the link to your Kickstarter below the video.
Yeah, so if you're curious about my work, also with the Akashic Records, I have a website which is belleschubert.com. And I believe my like YouTube and Instagram are both Belle Schubert. So it's throughout the same name, if I'm not wrong entirely. And yeah, that's where I you can find me on YouTube. I try to upload a video once in a while, just some background information to the artwork. You can watch me paint the illustrations most of the time. And on Instagram, I try to share what I'm up to, and I'm hoping to get better and better at it.
Yeah, you're doing so great already. Heath dropped some links in the chat here, and we'll link everything in the video as well. Yeah, so thank you so much, Belle, for being here with us today. It was so
Thank
much
you
fun
so much
and,
for having me.
so interesting to hear, all your stories and about the journey of creating your deck. And it's always so much fun to learn from everyone and hear about everyone's process. And yeah, you're creating something so magical, I think, with the deck, and there's so much more coming for sure. I can see that.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna wish you best of luck with the launch as well. And I really
Yeah.
I know it's gonna come to life in one way or another, even let's just visualize you
I'm
succeeding
sure.
this
Yeah.
first time. But if not, I know it's gonna come to life and you'll do just great. This deck is absolutely meant to be in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank you so much. And it was such a pleasure. And for each and one of you, like, thank you so much for sharing the space and being here with me. And it was honestly an honor. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to add one more thing before we stop recording. So, for anybody who is on their journey of creating their own deck, or they're just getting started, you have a dream for a deck that you've been wanting to bring to life, then we would love for you to join us in our deck creators community at deckcreators.com. And we look forward to being back with more soon, with more guests and more videos on our channel as well.